A big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video.
Don't want to sleep tonight at all. Just want to watch them stars fall. With you, don't want to try to make up dreams. Just to be.
Good morning everybody, fantastic to see you all again. So I'm in my studio, this log cabin here with my fire going. It's snowy outside. What could be better, eh? Well, I could go out, be able to go out in the snow and take some photos, but there's been this editing challenge that I set last Sunday, and there's been so many entries over, well, there's probably been thousands to be honest. I think I've gone through 1,800 and they're still coming in, but I had to have a cut off. It's Thursday now and I've got to record and edit the video, and it's quite difficult to go through all those photos. So I spent most of yesterday and this morning going through those photos and narrowing them down. And there's 3 photos that I asked you to edit of mine, and I've also asked some professional photographers, Mass Peter Everson, Mark Littlejohn, Michael Shaneblum and James Popsis to edit them as well. And I've got those in and they're really interesting. I'm going to show the pros at the end. So before we do that, what I want to do is go through these raw photos. Yeah, so this was the first one. This was taken with my drone. This is the Old Man of Storr in Scotland, and you can see that the exposure is pretty good. Yeah, so if I look at the histogram here, you can see, you know, the shadows are pushing the limits, but there's no burnt out highlights. And if I look at the exposure, you can see that I can pull up some detail here. So this I thought was a good one because I think it's a good edit. I'm quite happy with the composition here. I placed the Old Man of Storr pretty well. There was some really nice light. I didn't have a lot of sky in it because there was not a lot of detail in the sky, but there's information to pull out in the sky. So I thought this was an interesting one to start with. The next one was this one just down the road in the Quorang on the Isle of Skye as well. And this one was a little bit interesting because this, when I took this, it was hectic. We were on a workshop, we'd arrived here, and things happened really quickly, and the sun came out as it does and you're running around like headless chicken. I think I took 3 photos, none of them in the same spot. I slightly moved the composition, so I didn't manage to take any multiple exposures, which would be nice. And I think it's exposed as well as I could do, but you can see if I drop the exposure, the sun's very well burnt out, which always is the case with the middle of the sun, but I'd like it a little bit better than this. But if we look at the rest of it, then you can pull up those shadow details. The Z7, Nikon Z7 is amazing. You can pull up those shadow details and get a lot of information. But there's a lot of things to do in this, a lot of different ideas that I had in my mind around editing this. And so I thought this would be another good one for you to edit. And the final one is this one, which is in Snowdonia towards Tryfan here. And this was actually in a video, I can share it here, that I did, so you can see how I took a picture just up the stream from here. I actually dismissed this shot because I wasn't happy about this foreground here, but when I looked at it again, I thought, you know, it's actually not that bad. But I thought it was a little bit messy and the waterfall maybe went off to the left, but I thought it'd be interesting to see what you guys could do with the edit of it. And again, the exposure is pushing the limits really. So there's burnt out sky, which doesn't really matter, I don't think, but there's a lot of shadow detail you can pull back. So there's a lot you can do with these 3 images, and oh my word, did you do a lot. So let's jump in to the actual shots themselves. Okay, I'm going to do the Old Man of Storr first. First, we'll look at Carl's. So this was an interesting one. It's a slightly different crop, and yeah, Carl's done a really good job of creating a very mysterious image here. It's totally not how I would have edited it. I really wouldn't have edited it like this at all, but I really like it. The only thing I'd say is that maybe these highlights here on the rocks are just a little bit overdone. Just toning those down, it might have just made it a little bit better, but it really stood out. I really like that, Carl. The next one was Adam. So this one of Adam's I thought was really good, completely different. It was the whole shot, but you've burnt out the highlights a little bit at the top, and you've done that in a really nice way, I think. So I really like this. So that's a great job, Adam. A similar shot this was a shot by Carrie, which I really liked. I felt like it captured the mood when I was there, and obviously you guys weren't there, and it's difficult when you're trying to edit a photo and you've not been to the location, or you weren't there when you took the photo, to try and get that right. But I think Carrie's done a really good job here. I really like this. And also she's cloned out some distractions here and here, which I thought was really important. I spotted those. So you just eye leads through the image really nicely. So great job that, Carrie. I really like this one as well. This is a really interesting one from Mateus. I think that's how you pronounce it. Now Mateus has moved the sun. So the sun was rising here, and he's moved it to here, which when I first looked at it, I thought this looks amazing. I really liked it. He'd cloned out these details here. I really like the rock detail here. The mood that's being created is amazing. And this was almost my favourite, but it wasn't, because I feel that sun's not true. And you know, if you think about the sun coming through here, it just doesn't add up to the way the light's coming through here. So in my mind, I then just sort of didn't quite like that as much as the other ones. So the next one here is a lovely vertical edit from Rob. And Rob has just done a fantastic job here. It's so different as well. When you crop it, it just shows how much cropping an image can do. I like this sort of burnt out area here. It sort of leads through into the image. And then this mysterious sort of path of light here looks fantastic. So my favourite one, if we just go back, is Carrie. I like this. It's a little bit lighter of an image, which is probably what I prefer. It's not quite so as dramatic, but it's just captures the essence of what it was like when I was there that morning. Okay, on to the next set of images, and that's the Quang. And these photos, hi Pebbles, you okay? These photos were really, really amazing. It's probably my favourite photo, this as well, of the three. So this is the first one from Alessandro, and he did a really, really good job of just graduating these tones in the sun here. He's got a nice balance here on the tree. And yeah, I really, really like this. And the crop's just a little bit different as well. So this is what attracted me to this shot. And the next one here from Hamish is again a bit about the crop, really. So I think a crop can make a really big difference to an image. And here he's made a bit of a letterbox crop, got rid of the bottom part of it, you know, all this stuff down here, which I think actually works quite well. And I really like this. He's got rid of the flares here as well, which I think is pretty good from the sun. A nice graduation, some nice colours here. And this one from Laura, I really liked. One thing that Laura did that I thought was quite interesting, that quite a few other people had missed, was the road here, and she actually cloned the road out. Now, I don't know whether I would clone that road out. It's quite a big element of it, and it's something that means something to me, but I can understand why people would do that. And she's also cloned the road out here. Hello, Pebbles. The road out here, which I think works quite well. This one from Till is a very different sort of edit. It's light, it's, you know, reduced saturation, and it proves that you can get different types of images from the same raw file. This is a very different look, a very different feel to the image. It's probably not my favorite, but it's the one that stood out probably the most of all the images. Onto this one from Chris. So this was, I felt, really, really good job of this area here. Some really good dramatic lighting. It really worked hard on the lighting here, and you know, the lighting around here, nice graduation there. So I really like this one from Chris. This is from Matus, which was an interesting one. I think he's gone to town with one of the filters here. It looks like he's added fog in. I'm not sure I'm a great lover of that, but you know, it's created an effective shot here, something a little bit different. And I really like the graduation he's created in the sky here. Got rid of that glow and warmth of it and made it a cooler, sort of more foreboding image. And then this one from Kathy is just amazing. I really, really like this image, or this edit of the image. And Kathy's removed the road down here, left the road in there, got rid of the flare, a beautiful graduation from the sun, reduced the saturation a little bit, but not too much. And I feel this looks really good. And then the final one is Martin's image here, which Again, it's a bit different tonality to it. He's toned it a little bit differently, and I really like what Martin's done with this. I like the fact that you know, there's just these browns and greens that sort of stand out, and really, I think he's really concentrated on looking at the colour and the tonality of the image. But my favourite was this one from Kathy. So that, Kathy, you've won a Vistas book and a copy of this, a one-of-one copy of this print. So I'll print this out for you, sign it, one of one, and it can be your edit on the wall. Actually, I printed this one out, so I'll just show you. This is Kathy's image edited. I'll do this for all my favourites of the 3 images, but you can see that it just looks so good. It's got that real painterly look to it, and I really like that in an image. That painterly look is what I always strive for in my edits. So this really stood out to me. It looks fantastic, the glow here, and yeah, the whole thing just looks beautiful. So I'll be sending you this print, Kathy. Thanks ever so much for editing it, and thanks to everybody else that edited this image. And I'll tell you more about a webpage I'm going to be setting up to share these images. Okay, on to Snowdonia. So let's just go and find the Snowdonia ones. So this was a view towards Tryfan and Snowdonia, and there were some really good edits of this. I felt like it was the trickiest of the 3 images to edit. There were some compositional challenges. Certainly down here, this was quite sort of messy, this foreground, and I feel like how you edited that foreground would make a difference to the image. So that was something, I dismissed this photo at first to go for another photo that I'd shared quite a lot online. But when I was going back through them, I felt this probably deserved an edit. I think the background can be edited really well. I think the foreground's quite tricky. So I was interested to see what people did. So this was one from Gabriella. And I really like the background here. I thought that worked really well. I just felt on this image that even though it's quite a nice tonality to it, perhaps this was just a little bit too bright and drew your attention a little bit too much. And that I want to show you this one because the same type of edit and brighten the foreground too much happened on quite a few, so I thought it was worth mentioning. This one from Jerome, I felt was how I would edit it. So a really soft, nice glow here. The mountain's really nicely edited. It's not too sharpened. It's quite soft. This is nice and soft. You know, you've got rid of some of the highlights in the water here. It's just beautiful. Just a little bit of a distraction down here that probably needed removing. But apart from that, Jerome, it's good edit. So this one from Maziko is again a dramatic edit. It's not again how I'd edit it, but I feel like it works for the image. I think just a little bit less saturation on the greens might have helped out because I think this is maybe just a little bit oversaturated. And again, this distraction down in the bottom here. This image from Phi is a really good tonality to it. Some nice contrast, but I wanted to show you on this image because a lot of people did this same thing, is that if you over sharpen the image then you can get bad artifacts in the image. So yes, you've just got to be a little bit careful about sharpening. Onto this one from Femke. This is a gorgeous toned image. I love where the rock positioning is here and the balance down here works well. Your eye can go either way. I really like the warmth in the lake here reflected from the sun, and the sun just sort of peeking over the mountain. I feel like it's just a nice balanced shot. This one from Andy, he's brought out the sky a little bit more, and I thought that was quite interesting. I wanted to show this though. I liked the overall edit, but I felt that just this area here just didn't fit with the rest of it. I felt like this needed to be a little bit darker. And just got to watch your edges around the mountain there. Apart from that, yeah, I mean, this was a really lovely edit. Okay, so the best one, or my favourite, there's not a best one, is there? The one that I enjoyed the most was this one here from Famke, and yeah, I really liked it. So I'll make sure I print that out and I'll send it on to you. And thanks for editing it, and thanks to everybody for editing the photos. I really appreciate it. Okay, before I go on to look at the pros photos, I just want to say a little bit about Squarespace. Squarespace have sponsored me for the last 2 years, I think, and they're going to continue to sponsor me for the rest of the year, which is just so amazing to me and my channel. It means that it takes a lot of pressure off. It means that I can concentrate on doing, exciting things and trying to bring different things to the channel. And I've got so many ideas. If we get out of lockdown, I've got so many ideas of what we can do this year. I built a web page of all these images with Squarespace, so you can go and have a look at my favorite sort of 10 or 15 images from each of the shots. And I did that with Squarespace. It's super easy. I've said it so many times before, but it really, really makes my life so much easier as a professional photographer. But if you're an amateur and you're looking to set up a website to showcase your images, then Squarespace is a fantastic tool to be able to do that. And if you are looking to do a website, then make sure you go to squarespace.com/Nigel and you'll get 10% off with your first purchase. Okay, on to the first shot, and this is James's image. So James decided to do the Kwang, and I spoke to James about this, and he basically said that firstly he cropped it 16:9. He wanted to be really tight on the mountains here to create a bit of drama, and then he basically warmed it up and toned it so that it had a very warm feel to it. He wanted to blow out the sky here and create this sort of glow, which I think works so well, but just keep a little bit of cloud in here just to keep that little bit of detail around these mountains, because I think that's where your eye goes. And then he also cloned out a few things, the flares, etc. And then the other thing that he mentioned is he darkened this area here, so your eye is drawn through into the main mountains. So that was James's. So the next one here was from Mass of the Snowdonia, and Mass basically did some correction for lens distortion. It was a 14mm lens, don't forget, and so he corrected for lens distortion here. Looked at chromatic aberration and any vignetting and got rid of that. Got rid of any specular highlights on the water, and then basically just did a correction and some tonality changes to make sure it had impact but didn't look too over HDR'd. And I think he's done a fantastic job of doing that, and then the sun just coming through looks fantastic. Yeah, I really like this. Again, this is probably how I'd like to think I edited it. I don't think I'm as good an editor as Mass, to be honest. I think he's got extremely excellent editing skills, but I love that. I love that edit. The next one's from Mark Littlejohn, and he told me a little bit about this. So he cropped the right hand side here. So what he wanted to do was have the old man smack bang in the middle to give it more sort of dominance within the frame. He feels like this is a real ancient place, and he wanted to be true to that. But he did say because he hadn't taken the shot, it's always more difficult for him to edit it. And I think that's true, really. I think if you haven't taken the shot, you haven't been there, haven't felt the wind on your face, then it's more difficult. But he has been here, so that helps. And he wanted to create drama in there, so he created a little bit of warmth in the areas where the sun's breaking through, and split tone it as well with the shadows, warming the shadows and warming the highlights, which I think looks really, really good. And the final one is from Michael of the Kerrang, which obviously is a completely different edit to James's, and he has done an amazing job of just this graduation of tones from the sun through here. I feel like Michael's extremely good at doing that. If you're going to have a look at his work, he's so good at creating that sort of softness to his images. I really wish I could do it as well as him. He's so good at it. And he's brought that through into the mountains, and it creates this real majesty to the image, I feel. I really like it. And it's understated, but still magnificent, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I think Michael's done a great job there. Okay, so there's a few things that I wanted to say that I thought were important from this, some learning outcomes really. And one of them was sharpening, because a lot of people I felt over sharpen the images, and there's a real tendency to do that, you think that an image looks better if it's got more punch and it looks sharper. But if you looked at that image of Michael's at the end, it's got that soft, sort of beautiful feel to it, that painterly look to it. So I just think about that and think about sharpening your images. The other thing was distractions and just removing distractions. It's really easy to go and remove distractions. I talked about that in last week's video. You know, that final thing you should do is probably go around the edges and look for anything else that's just distracting that you can just spot out. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was balancing of tonality in an image. I felt that like some of the edits, the foreground was brighter than the sky, and it just doesn't work that, because the sky in an image is pretty much always going to be one of the brightest elements, certainly where the sun is. So you can't have a foreground that's brighter than that. And just getting a balance that looks natural, I think is really important in landscape photography. So think about that. Okay, so thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. It was a really difficult one to go through this week. Took a lot of time. If you've liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear your comments on what you thought of my choices below. And until next Sunday, bye.